Kick, 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 kitty, kick, kick. Okay, yes, I already did this bit, but maybe I like talking and kick. This is Star Wars. People do talk in way weirder ways than that. Hiya, friends. I've gotten a great deal of requests to beat Jedi Survivor with kicking only for quite a while now. And since I beat Fallen Order that way, I set out to do the same to Survivor at long last. As the second game, I doubled the trouble and did it twice over. For both playthroughs, I will only be allowed to use the crossguard's dropkick ability to deal damage, no other form of attack, and both will be on Grandmaster difficulty. But my first playthrough will follow the same rules as my Fallen Order run, where I shall be allowed to block and parry, along with turning QuickTime event inputs off for boss fights, so it will be a proper cinematic and not risk purposely losing like I did in all my other Survivor challenges. Since both runs will be New Game Plus in order to access Crossguard right away, my first run will incorporate the Warrior perk for way harder enemies throughout the game. But on my second run, I wanted to switch things up so while Warrior perk is off, I cannot block or parry, and QuickTime events are active, forcing me to tank through them. I gotta try and give the people the suffering they request after all. Occasionally, Cal's sprint will automatically block a blaster bolt here and there, and since that's nigh impossible to avoid since I have to sprint to kick, we won't count those rare occurrences, but I will strive to avoid them happening as much as possible, even if it's terrible for my health. Now let's dive feet first right into this kicking only challenge. Of course, before I can kick, I must get kicked right in the patissa, as the game's first fight against Senator Sejan's guards is unavoidable, and right before the first meditation circle where I will be able to change my stance. But when I finish my daily shield bashing to the dome, I send the guards flying. The first meditation point lights up my life as I can now switch to Crossguard and get right to using Crossguard's strong dropkick ability. I also grab the centered perk along with others so I can absorb one blow without getting interrupted, something I will find to be quite vital. Thankfully, unlike Fallen Order's kick, the dropkick does great damage and can end weaker enemies in a single strike. Just what are Cal's boots made out of? But one thing his feet absolutely cannot do is break through shields. I'm shocked to discover the shields seem to fully absorb the kick, taking no damage no matter how much I hit them, and easily counterattacking me. But that's the beauty of stairs, where I can dive in above the shield to smash right into the scout's face. That was absolutely pure luck on my part, but I'll take it. Not so lucky, for both me and this stormtrooper I suppose, is accidentally slicing into him when I try to kick him. He's not going to be at urgent care alone though, as this is going to prove to be a very consistent problem, forcing tons of resets throughout the story. This is why, just like my Fallen Order run, I require a reset counter to join my death counter, as it proves most frustrating trying to kick someone and instead finding my blade slicing and dicing them. I suspect the men I'm cutting up would agree it's frustrating. You see, when Cal starts sprinting, which I need to be doing to kick anyone, his auto block enables, and if he catches even a single bolt on his blade, it will keep Cal from kicking, but not stop him from striking, leading to the aforementioned blade-body contact. If Cal takes a hit to his body instead of blocking, that's somehow better, because at least I'm not cutting anyone down, but it still sucks to be shot out of my kick. Also, there's the third bad option of accidentally not ensuring I'm sprinting and whacking the enemy with my saber right away, no block needed. That one extra sucks and is gonna certainly ruin my day later in our story. For now, I'm sprinting right on past the floating hate probes of death, kicking one by one through the Imperial forces trying to block my way, and after way too many accidental saber slices, I finally meet up with my old pal, the Ninth Sister. After immediately ruining our confrontation by slicing into Masana, the second time is much nicer, as she not only leaves me plenty of openings in between her attacks, the Ninth also has her lightsaber on tickle mode it seems, as it barely does any damage. Which is good, because I'm a pretty easy target as I recklessly run circles around her and try for kicks at the worst of times. But really, she's not much interested in her own defense, so this one is no trouble per usual. Minus the game forcing me into dual wield stance for the last bit of the fight. That always stings the challenge, am I right, Masana? Oh, yeah, she's not available to talk anymore, so I'd better head out. I mean move out, sorry. Laying low on Kobo, I get to rediscover my hatred for super battle droids. When I first started Survivor, I despised fighting them, and then over many hours of experience, I realized they're not so bad, and there's enemies to hate much more than them. Now that I'm stuck trying to kick them without getting shot in the meantime, while a jetpack raider tries to poke me with his electric stick, I'm very much back to hating them. Especially after getting the needed kicks in and throwing it all away by triggering the execution cinematic. If you think it sucks to ruin that fight after a near victory, then you must know it sucks times 30 to make the same mistake 20 minutes later fighting the Rancor. 4.5 minutes of running wildly around this little cave, trying not to be squashed or eaten, only to ruin it with Cal's love for cinematic finishers. At least this Rancor is the furthest thing from deadly, and so the second try is a win, as long as I wait for the poor fella to stop being stunned so we can finish this the right way. Traveling further into Kobo's untamed wilds, I come across my nemesis, Shield Man. As ever, his invulnerability is a complication that causes me quite the headache and footache. But my ultimate tactic of running in circles like a madman continues to bear fruit as I lure Shield Man into charging at me, leaving his backside vulnerable for but a moment, long enough for me to strike. As for the second Shield Man further in this area, well, feet do have a second use beyond kicking, so I can skedaddle and not have to do that twice in a row. Dagon Gera, famed Jedi of legend, now insane megalomaniac trying to kill me, is a very stabbable individual, and that is quite the problem when one is trying to quit stabbing people. Kicking them to death is much more humane after all. But Dagon isn't one that seems a big fan of the bottom of my boots greeting his face, so he is rude and constantly blocks, which means it's time for me to parry his block into non-existence, and as a reward, I get a singular kick in each time before Dagon goes back to swinging at me. That's the smart way to fight, and since smart equals slow, I am not very good at sticking to it. I can get him more kicks at the cost of a new lightsaber burn scar per hit, but Dagon can't heal and I can. Though I am flying through these stems, and he does plenty more damage than I do every time, I also gotta make sure I actually hit him, and not land directly on the ground in front of him, ready to be sliced and diced at his leisure. Over nearly 7 minutes, I rush back and forth, slamming into Dagon, oftentimes doing nothing more than a little damage to his block bar, and usually, whenever he hits me, I hit him, and so that slow breakdown of his health does lead to his first defeat. Man, I really hope he trips when trying to get on the gunship out of here and fall to his death, but I'm just never that lucky. Now on Jeddah, I'm stuck, as I have no way to directly kill these 3 stormtroopers above me. But if you've seen my 5-stance challenge, you know there is a way to kill the rocket trooper. Or well, for him to kill himself. And as long as I'm patient and am willing to jump around a lot to try to get the angles and the timing right, that rocket trooper will do me a kindness and kill his friends first, before killing himself. Dark stuff. Dark stuff. But I guess compassion comes in all forms. Only a short distance away, I'll find much more evidence, 20 minutes worth, that overwhelming firepower truly is my bane. Otherwise, it would be called whelming, or underwhelming firepower, I suppose. Thank the Force for my large supply of stims and the high ground so I can take needed breathers. I should stay up here and let Merrin kill most everyone, but I feel the need to get involved. That need usually ends up with a saber ruining someone's day and a reset occurring, or just me getting horrendously beaten down. If only Merrin would focus the ranged troopers more than the melee, but it doesn't seem to be her style. Shame. Best to have a staring contest with these probe droids that have forgotten their programming to kill me. Long enough anyway for the attention to mostly be on Merrin, and then I can pop in to desperately struggle to eliminate the ranged troopers. Luck is on my side, as the commander also seems hesitant to fire on me like the probes were, and that creates enough of an opening to knock his men off the ledge, allowing me to attack without being interrupted every single time. Well, until the others remember I exist, then I'm back to relying on Merrin to bail me out. I can't really do anything besides run with floating out of reach death probes peppering me with shots, but that's why I love Merrin. Safe at Seer's hidden base, Bode gives me a gun, but the power of a gun is insignificant next to the power of the Force of these toes, as the raiders on the Shattered Moon must find out. They love cramped spaces, but this is why I have the Centered perk, so I can tank their hits while running around them and waiting for the opening as they finish their combos. I walk away with plenty of new bruises, but at least I'm the one walking away. The horde of battle droids can be dealt with one by one, but I most certainly would have fallen to the droidicas if not for my fortification perk bringing my health back up just enough in order to survive their attacks. Way later in the raider base, my only real trouble is when I begrudgingly use the Force to rip this elevator down in order to progress on a Dagon's second duel. My greatest failing is putting my blade in him when I think I'm sprinting, but alas, of course I'm not. Dagon is often willing to leave himself open to losing a few teeth at the end of his combos, so long as I keep running away from him while maintaining closeness enough to keep his combo going. Time to go up against the always tough Raider leader Ravis. I hope he enjoys watching me cry, even sob. For the next couple hours, I'd run in, kick Ravis all over the floor for his first phase, and then watch as my kicks are completely ineffective against his second phase's ability to regenerate health faster than I can output the pain. With my blaster and the force at my side, I barely beat this guy on Grandmaster, and that took so much time. Extra bad, my habits are way too honed, and I keep losing because I deflect bolts back at Ravis. Even if he does heal them off, they still count against the challenge. Ravis is bit by bit lowering my health, and unlike his regeneration, my stims are not infinite, and at best, my skill from fighting him so many times in other challenges just means stalemate, as we're stuck here till he can finally finish me off. No matter how much I fight Ravis, I get no closer to beating him, and after a couple hours, I come to the conclusion that Ravis can't be beaten with only kicks on Grandmaster difficulty, since he'd out-heal me too heavily. On Master difficulty, 1 down, I can kick his Gendai booty with ease, since he can't heal. But it isn't the same. I'd go on with the rest of the challenge, but it wouldn't stop bothering me, and that, my friends, is really why there are 2 playthroughs. Cause I had to come back for Ravis and do it right. I'll tell you all about it soon, I promise. Beating Ravis meant I had to face down an even tougher battle against Rick the Door Technician, and frankly, I don't even want to talk about that fight. It broke me way too much. But somehow surviving that intense battle meant Dagon's final fight. My tactics remain the same from his second fight, and even though he's faster and reaches further, this tactic of baiting out his hits and hitting him while he recovers really does work. But those frickin' clones and their love of rearranging my facial features with their sabers really does cause me so much agony, ensuring I'm stuck here for 3 hours. I'm already risking plenty of damage running so close to Dagon as he tries to end me, but trying to kick a clone while the other clone cuts into me, or I get blocked and then cut into, or just cut into both before I can land the hit, or I get magnetically stopped from hitting them by the game's cruelty, and then yep, cut into again. Or I'll get chokeslammed into the void. There's just so many journeys for the same destination. How do I overcome this great evil? Constant practice allows me to get the timing down for avoiding most of Dagon's moves as I run, knowing the exact ones I can punish with a kick in the back, which is a nice deal of them thankfully, and then really taking my time with his clones, focused more on my own survival over ridding myself of them. Getting across the arena, waiting for the real Dagon to do his thing, and then going right at them and hoping the game won't hold me back as I barge into them is what it's really all about. Dagon dies, Bode switches sides to balance the team comps, and the challenge goes out the window as Seer takes the controls. No kick available, no challenge doable, lots of dead Imperials, and one very angry Sith Lord getting his cyborg hiney handed to him as he more than deserves. And back to the challenge we go as the endgame serves up the worst of the worst. Sure, letting myself get killed frees me from having to tap into the dark side of the Force, but I sorta wish I could, because the huge Imperial force blocking my way out of the space is always so giddy to ruin my week. I can barely move or get off heals between blaster barrages to my chest, and if I do land a hit, it is pure luck. Often ruined by death or a saber cut, and the dying is going at super speed as I find my block bar shattering non-stop. What is my one chance for victory? This Stormtrooper commander. I need him to blow up most of his own men for me before I take too much damage. The problem? While I can help aim where he will throw his grenade based on where I am, it is not an exact science, and it is still pure luck whether he will throw it at all, or, even if he does, he might be the first victim on his own list, taking out my main weapon against the others. Or he'll seem to realize what I want and say, nah, I'm not gonna throw anything just to spite ya, Shenanaloon. Yes, he knows my name. We fought enough by now, after all. This game is very tired of me trying to beat it in dumb ways by now, I am sure, and the enemies are tired of dying to me. But still, they must, because that trooper's need to explode his allies is too ingrained in him, and so sooner or later, explode they will. lessening the incoming fire enough that I can start landing my kicks. The following waves are still dangerous, and I especially hate the droids and baton purge troopers joining together to beat me as a family. But nothing compares to that first wave. Everything else is a slow trudge, and one that's doable when I let Marin do the majority of the work while I play distraction. Only for an even worse section to rear its ugly head as I return to Kobo and am confronted by the worst 5 waves of Imperials in the game. The staff troopers, they can be kicked to death without any worry, because if you time it right as they get up, you can keep them from ever getting up. The baton troopers are even easier, as they rarely get up from repeated kicks. But of course, the imps have to make things probably impossible by introducing multiple probe droids to lord above me as they fire down, accompanied by their bulky droid pals. Especially this malicious, despicable, sorry excuse for a droid that is the upgraded Viper probe droid that rapid fires and will break my block like it's nothing while always staying out of reach. They have to be challenge killers, right? One would think, but I'm a persistent rat if nothing else. The moment the second wave with the baton troopers is over, I wait only a second before rushing at the opening door to kick the Viper droid, destroying it in one hit before it can get up off the ground. The smaller probe droid, unlike his Fallen Order counterpart, is willing to float up and down. Often out of reach, but not always. And if I time my kick right, I can ensure it will detonate and destroy the 2 security droids hounding me. The DT droid is surprisingly only a minor inconvenience, long as I dodge immediately after every attack. But its destruction only makes things so much worse, as in comes 2 more Viper droids and a Purge Trooper to rain blaster fire down on me. Same as before, I can destroy 1 Viper droid the moment the door opens, and I better not miss because 2 Viper droids is far too much for me. The remaining Viper won't be floating down within range, and between it and the Purge Commander, I will not be surviving for long. There's no chance I'll be able to kill the Commander while the Viper's alive, since it will always interrupt me with its speed. But worry not, I will not be needing to. If the Viper wanders close enough, it will let off a grenade occasionally, and 2 of those grenades hitting the Purge Commander beneath me frees me from that burden. But what about the Viper? It has no wish to be close to me. In fact, it does everything possible to maximize the distance between us, and Cal hasn't yet learned to fly like Marin, sadly. Bummer. But let's use that wish to get away from me against it, shall we? Keep rushing it towards the corner in which I hit up top, and it can get trapped inside. This is where it gets extra painful, as I need to make sure it stays there and uses its grenades, so I have to climb in with it. The droid shoots so fast that I must time my stimps perfectly, or it will interrupt me and potentially kill me. I need to also stay as close as possible so its grenades will land underneath it, taking 2 to finish off this bucket of bolts. Of course, there's still the 5th wave of Purge Troopers to make my life extra hellish as they kill me and start the whole process over again. That's about what I expected. My fortification perk is the main reason I can survive this 5th wave after using so many of my stims to get this far, and I really have to be in sync with the commanders as I dodge them both, trying to get them to use moves that will leave them open long enough for me to land a kick without being stopped. Very teeny tiny windows of opportunity, but I'm all over them when they show, and once one commander's dead, the second one isn't so hard, and the poor final staff trooper is nothing to me but a footrest. All things considered, Bode ain't too bad. I'm discovering continuously, beat Bode with 1 challenge, beat him with many. His weaknesses are all the same, and despite his great damage output, he's much too predictable. This time around, his main opening comes whenever he throws his grenades, giving me time to get in there, kick him, and get out, leading to him also taking damage from his own explosives. Of course, Bode's real weakness is you need to only take about 55% of his health away to remove his guns as a factor, and without those, he's so easy to kick in the face. But before we shout huzzah, what about the second run without blocking or parrying and all that? The game crashes right away, trying to stop me from embarking once again, but I won't be stopped so easily. While I will end up with more holes in me as I dodge and jump around the area, rather poorly admittedly, the results are far kinder with our warrior perk in play, as the enemy can't output enough damage and death is quite rare for a while. Taking through everything is sort of the whole idea of this run, as it's not like I can block it after all. Non-stop moving is also very vital. It is what allows me to survive most of Dagon's hits and break him down bit by bit in his first, second, and third fights. I only have the one tactic to handle him after all. I also need to ensure I'm healed enough to tank his QuickTime event strikes, or, well, the obvious happens. Good news is, the dedication to keeping my distance no matter what, and all the experience I have kicking him already, means far less losses to his 3 fights, even without blocking or parrying. I did need to enable Warrior perk on my first excursion to Jeddah, as I'm not yet tall enough to reach these 3 blaster units, and I need a rocket frenemy to deal with them. Otherwise, I keep Warrior perk off. As the game progresses and the enemies get stronger and stronger, the perk's absence had less and less of an effect. But even if I'm close to death, I always prevail. Until Ravis and I were face to face once more. So, for my no blocking version, I'm not gonna do this on Grandmaster, everyone. It's already hard enough with blocking, and so I quickly stomp Ravis without blocking, but only on Master difficulty. The moment he's beat, I reset back to the last save and turn the difficulty back up to Grandmaster. Now, my friends, it is time to fix my mistake and beat Ravis on Grandmaster with only kicking. Someone really should tell Ravis that because he's not having it. I know it's possible when I get Ravis to his last shred of health after an hour of fighting, but then accidentally hit him with my saber and have to quickly reset. Oh, that really sucked to say the least. We don't care about the first phase, it's there so Ravis can stretch first before he really lets loose. Ravis heals non-stop in his second phase, and as you can see, if I hit him between every attack he makes, that will only ensure he doesn't fully heal his last hit off by a very small sliver. And so every time I fail to land a hit, or took damage myself and slowed the process, that means Ravis will have healed the last hit completely and keeps on regenerating, so I have to always be on him any chance I get. If I stick to dodging, I won't have enough time between his attacks to do anything, so that's why I stick to sprinting, saving my block only for auto-blocking his blaster fire. Any mistake I make will cost me dearly, and the number one attack I keep an eye out for is his 3 rapid hit combo. It is incredibly fast and will definitely kill me if I'm caught in it, but I also need it, as the faster he does an attack, the faster I can hit him back. If I can manage it, I also strive to lead him right into his own rocket blast. His first phase only takes 3.5 minutes to beat, but when I finally do wear him down completely, it will take another 17 minutes of this back and forth, 20 minutes total of this one fight after 4 hours here before I can land enough hits. The fact that I only used 5 stims in this last fight should really show how I'm incredibly used to every single move he can make and how surgical I had to be with this battle. But it's over and Ravis is beaten. I feel like I was there for days. But, of course, the worst is yet to come. I think you can guess where. By the time I reached the Imperial Hangar, my death count was pretty low this run, and my resets weren't much worse. I had even developed a fan club of scout troopers. But then, the Fire Nation attacked. So much blaster fire was hell when I could block. Now, I can't, and it meant I died by the dozens, as I desperately hoped for the commander to do his thing. He was my only chance out of there, and he would not cooperate. Death after death after death after howls of agony after death. But finally the commander killed enough for me to land some hits, and once that wave was dead, I took 0 risk clearing out the rest because I had no wish to do that again. I knew I could believe in Imperial stupidity winning out for me. If only the same could be said for droids. For the next 5.5 hours, this terrible little hole in the ground is my home, as I strive to find a workaround for the probe droids. The lack of the warrior perk doesn't matter here. The enemies are the same here in both playthroughs. My plan from before mostly still works, just more dodging involved, except when it comes to the surviving Viper droid. I can't block it into a corner, and without blocking, it will kill me within a couple heartbeats. But of course, I had to realize that there's a very, very, very small chance that the droid might, just might, float close enough to the ledge where I hide that I can kick it out of the air. That excruciatingly small probability that costs me hours of moving back and forth trying to get the Viper to get closer without getting myself killed is what keeps me here. Especially since the without getting killed part rarely works out. The probe has no interest in getting close to me, but using the left side and moving back and forth. And guys, I don't know. I don't know why it gets closer or not. I tested it for hours, and while I think it doesn't like me dashing in and out on the left, there is absolutely no exact science to this, and I need mucho luck as I wait on the whims of the droid. Good thing fortification exists to keep me afloat so I don't have to waste all my stims here. If my hours of repeated tries work out, the 5th wave says, "Not so fast, Buster," and ruins my progress. The worst is when the droid is just barely out of reach taunting me, but if the Force is with me and the droid moves right where I need it to, I punt it into the great beyond with great glee, and using all the stims I've saved, I give everything I have to kill the 5th wave of commanders. Honestly, I get pretty lucky, or I suppose Obi-Wan would say the Force really is with me, as the commanders don't cover each other well, and I can ensure the first one never gets a chance to recover from my kicks before I start in on the other two. Wowza. That was the worst. But the joy of beating it is like little else, so a mini huzzah for that alone. Huzzah! Bode did not enjoy me insulting him so much, so he makes sure to steal an hour of my life as I can't block his many shots, but really, it doesn't change that the tactics are the same, and I just need the Force to be with me to pull it off. I sympathize heavily with Bode. Really, I do. But that doesn't stop me from laying into him every chance I get. Huzzah! My first run took 29 hours, 50 minutes with 110 deaths and 154 resets, while my no blocking version without warrior perk took 80 deaths and 39 resets over 16 hours, 9 minutes, for a total challenge run of 45 hours, 59 minutes, and 190 deaths with 193 resets. Both runs require 4 uses of non-kick means. At the very start, the dual wield against 9th, the evil elevator, and Seer's whole section, but most of the game can be beaten with only the kick. Thank ye very much for watching, and thank ye all for the recommendation. I truly hope ye all had fun. Time for me to go back in time and make sure the movie, Solo, A Star Wars Story, never introduces those cursed probe droids into the timeline. I hope if this small change wrecks the time stream, we end up in a better timeline. But whatever timeline we're in, know that I'm rooting for you. See you later, friends, in this timeline or the next.